What's going on, everyone? So a lot of you have been asking for Boba Yellow. For those of you that watched my previous video talking about the recent cash tournaments, last weekend we had two 1K tournaments, both of which Boba Yellow actually ended up in the top 8, and I believe one of them actually ended up winning the entire tournament. Of the 16 players in the top 8 between the two tournaments, 6 of them were Boba Yellow. There wasn't really many other duplicates in terms of deck lists or deck archetypes. So Boba Yellow, the clear favorite, whether that's because it's just familiar and one of the strongest decks from set 1 just transitioning, or it's truly just the powerhouse that it truly is, I'm not sure. What I will say is that it's definitely near the top, if not the top. So maybe it is worthy of a couple of top spots, but maybe not this many, depending on kind of how the meta shapes up. Regardless, I'm going to bring you kind of my slightly variated version of Boba Yellow, mainly because the meta on Carabas and online, games is a little bit different. And so, well, we're kind of tuned slightly towards that meta. And whether or not your meta in paper or whatever you're playing at is different, well, you'll have to determine that before you end up playing whatever list you want to play. With all that said, guys, I have a TCG play link in the description down below. If you want to go ahead and pick up any of the cards or the entire list from TCG, you can go ahead and do so with my link. It helps me out as well as helps you out. But let's talk Boba Yellow and some of the things that make it so powerful. First things first, Boba is the reason why Boba Yellow is good. It's not because you're playing Cunning. It's not because you have good villainy cards. It's because of Boba Leader, okay? I've played double yellow decks in Heroism. I played double yellow decks outside of Boba. It is Boba Leader that makes it so powerful. The ability to get resources back when you trade with units or, bounce units is so important. And then the fact that he flips over as a 5 resource 4/7. So very aggressive stat line and very defensive stat line in terms of getting in a lot of damage and also being able to tank a lot of damage, and then allowing you to ready additional resources for the potential to ready 3 resources on the turn you flip Boba, leading to potentially a whole nother play or, multiple tricks in a turn is absurd. Overall, with set 2 coming, there actually isn't that many changes. In terms of set 1 cards that you're used to, well, all of our 2 resource plays are pretty much the same in terms of units, right? We have our Greedos, our Cartel Spacers, our Crafty Smugglers, our Viper Probe Droids. And then the new one is Mercenary Gunship. One thing I want to talk about in terms of 2-drops is Dr. Evazan. Why are we not playing Dr. Evazan? This is a card I've continuously tested with. I've tried it with Kylo Yellow. I've tried it with Boba Yellow. I've tried it with Cad Bane. I've tried it with basically any yellow villainy deck. And the more I play it, the less I like it. There are some lists that I like it more in, like Kylo Yellow can be a list where, just the shield is so valuable. And in some matchups, it's really good. The problem is, if it's one of your only turn 1 options, it is just so weak if they're able to take advantage of the bounty. And Boba Yellow's greatest strength is the fact that you can make multiple plays in a turn by readying additional resources. And Dr. Evazan takes away that advantage completely if they defeat it, even if they have to 2-for-1 themselves by doing so. It's just not really a good card in this archetype. I've tried it many times. I'd rather play Crafty Smuggler, which is what we're doing here. On to our 3-drops. Well, all standard stuff. We got Boba Fett's, 7th Fleets, Bodhi's, all standard stuff that you're used to seeing in set 1s. The only addition is 1 copy of Lurking TIE Phantom. Unlike Tarkin Yellow, for example, or other lists, TIE Phantom isn't as strong because you can't buff it up. But there are matchups where TIE Phantom is just going to be the best card in your deck. If you have people playing like Power of the Dark Side, you play a TIE Phantom and that card is completely dead. And that's really important. As we go into our 4-drop slot, this is the slight variation that I have in my list here that many of the other lists wasn't running, which is Forlom. A lot of other lists were running Gamorrean Guards. In terms of what we're seeing on Carabas, a lot of people are playing more aggressively slanted decks. We're seeing a lot of Han Green. We're seeing a lot of, Rays. We're seeing a lot of, not that Ray is super aggressive. We're seeing a lot of Kylos. And Forlom is incredibly important to be able to get the value with the ambush. It's also just a 4/4. It doesn't give you Sentinel, but it gives you that ambush, which I've found to be a little bit more valuable. In our 5-drop slot, we have Cantina Bouncers, Syndicate Lackeys, and Zuckuss. Bouncers, Syndicate Lackeys, you're used to this. Why Syndicate Lackeys over Zuckuss? Well, Forlom guarantees ambush. Zuckuss does not. And when you flip Boba Fett, you really want to be able to get those 3 resources back. And so Syndicate Lackeys and Cantina Bouncers, generally speaking, give us the guaranteed way. And Zuckuss, in some spots, is way better. In some spots, when you go 4 Llama to Zuckuss, it's going to be the most absurd thing you've ever done. And then other spots, you're just going to be playing a 5 resource 6/6, doesn't give you resources back, which can be a little bit weak. So only 1 copy, and instead the 2/1 split. And then lastly, in our 6-drop slot, we have Fett's Fire Spray, the game closer for the most part. In terms of events and upgrades, I forgot to mention Bazine Natal. This is more of like a 4-drop. Usually you're playing a little bit later into the game. This is not a card you generally want to play on turn 1. You want to play a little bit more aggressive card because Bazine usually isn't able to disrupt your opponent enough at that point, but a little bit later when you disrupt your opponent for playing like Overrolling Barrage, for example, can be really powerful. In terms of events and upgrades, well, we got our classics. No Good to Me Dead is one of the most powerful yellow events. It just completely stops something for 2 turns, and that's usually enough for Boba to just win. Surprise Strike getting us some extra damage. Waylays, guaranteeing the resource readying and turning our opponent's, maybe 4 or 5 resource play into, well, 2 to 3 resources in our advantage. 1 copy of Relentless Pursuit. I found this card, well, to be pretty good in specific spots. A lot of the decks that were running in the top 8 were running 1 copy, so I decided to try it out myself. And usually where it's really good is, of course, if you can get it on a bounty hunter, that's amazing. But also, if your opponent ends up going with a lot of upgrades or something like that, gives you another way to get rid of that. And in some spots, it's just amazing to be able to completely ruin your opponent by capturing something, get a shield token, and then killing something else, or just getting in for some damage. And then lastly, we have ourselves the Cunnings. And Cunning is by far the best card in your whole deck. It is just amazing. Puts your opponent back on tempo by bouncing stuff, exhausting stuff, pumping up your units, or even messing with their hand. Lastly, in terms of upgrades, Boba Fett's armor. In some matchups, this is insane. In other matchups, it's really, really bad. Against Poes, it can be pretty bad because Boba Fett still just dies to a Poe ECL, even with Boba Fett's armor, because you're able to defeat the upgrade off of Boba, which is really, really tragic. So you have to be careful about this one, but in some matchups, it's unwinnable for your opponent if you have Boba Fett's armor. With that said, that's going to be the Boba Yellow list we're running today. Let's dive into some games and showcase, hopefully, why Boba Fett is the top of the meta. On to our first matchup against Cassian Yellow. This is definitely a mulligan. We have no turn 1 plays into a Crafty Smuggler, which is nice. No Good to Me Dead. Well, that looks potentially the weaker side. Cassian comes down later than Boba Fett, so No Good to Me Dead loses a lot of luster there. And we have Crafty Smuggler and a Bodhi, and I like Waylays in this spot. So let's just go Crafty Smuggler, and we'll see what our opponent decides to play here, starting us off. All right, let's just claim initiative, and then Mercenary Gunship can go into the resource pile. Let's go ahead and play a Bodhi just to see. Wow, they have, what, Red 3, Surprise Strike, Sneak Attack, and Daring Raid. Let's just get rid of the Surprise Strike. Sneak Attack is really not that scary to me, especially when we have the 30 HP base and Boba Fett comes down earlier. Get in for 2. They're going to hit us for 4. And then we claim initiative. And here, Bazine Natal looks interesting. That's potentially something that we could play. I like just resourcing that and then just playing out a 4-law most likely. Get in for 3 with Bodhi. And then we're going to attack in with Crafty Smuggler. I could have waylaid here, but I'll keep it just in case they have like a wing leader or something of that sort. Get in for 2. And then we're going to follow up just playing out a 4-law. No ambush. Usually ground units, generally speaking, higher overall power than space units. They're going to go all in space, which is, well, they're going all in space. They end up drawing 2 more space units after we mess with their hand. I suppose that could just be kind of what they're trying to do with their deck. Cunning is pretty powerful here. Let's go ahead and resource a Boba Fett. We get to go Cunning plus Waylay, but we get to go Cunning, exhaust 2 units, plus bounce like Red 3, which is kind of absurd. Let's go return unit, exhaust. So we get to go bounce Red 3, exhaust, exhaust. And now they're not getting in for like any damage whatsoever. We're going to immediately flip Boba and then attack with Boba, probably playing a secondary Boba Fett afterwards. But Cunning is exceptional. That was an amazing, amazing draw. It's one of the reasons why, I mean, Boba Fett is just so powerful in general is because of this card. They're going to replay a red 3. Let's go ahead and get down at Boba Fett. They're going to Jeddah City, give Forlom -4, -0. Let's just get in with Bodhi. Sneak attack in a Millennium Falcon, huh? That seems kind of weak, huh? So we can waylay it to prevent as much damage. Or we can waylay the red 3. So if we waylay the red 3, they can get in 4, 7, 11. Yeah, let's waylay the red 3. And then let's just get in for some damage here. Attack for 2. And then again, I think we're just racing at this point. So that's what we're going to do. Boba Fett's armor can potentially get some value here. They're obviously not able to play a Millennium Falcon because it's dead. All space units, huh? Do they play any ground units in this deck? Kind of cool. I like the all space theme. Gonna attack with Forlom first. Last turn, that might have been more valuable than just getting down a Boba Fett, but I was tempted to waylay something. Is it a bug? Start of the regroup phase. It's not a bug. This defeats at the start of the regroup phase. This says when you ready cards during the regroup phase, and you ready cards after you resource. So, that's not necessarily like this. This will defeat the Millennium Falcon, so Millennium Falcon won't be able to return to your hand. I think that's what they're talking about, at least. Readying is the last thing that you do. You draw, resource, ready, and then the first action takes place. So, pretty interesting one for our opponent. I think that was what their plan was. They're saying GG. I think that we have the advantage here. Again, I did the numbers. If they play red 3 and then attack with all these, that's 4, 7, 4. That's 11. They can also attack with Cassian, but that requires them to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate actions, and we just have to do 3, which means that we seem to be advantaged. We're going to attack in with Forlom into the Jeddah City. And let's see what they decide to do. So Jeddah City, if you think about it, only prevented 4 damage, but could have just had 5 extra HP. Something you got to think about. Not sure what they could have. They could have like an off aspect. No good to be dead. They could have something that exhausts Boba Fett, but doesn't look like they have anything. GG from our opponent. Kind of sweet little deck that they got going on here. All space units. It's hard to get there with all space units, I will say, especially with like 7th Fleet defenders running around. Like, it just is so valuable. But I like what they got going on, and they almost got me for sure. You know, the Cartel Turncoat made this possible for sure. Cartel Turncoat gave you so many potential options in the first couple of turns and as a space unit. So really, really nice one. I like the Cassian. I like it. I think Sabine ends up being a little bit more valuable because even if you're going all space, then you can still get Sabine out early and she doesn't die immediately. Whereas like when Cassian comes down on this list, he'll probably die. Although you don't get the draw, which is kind of cool. If they had a 30 HP base here, they could have won. Because let's say they just kill the Bodhi Rook and then they don't attack with the A-Wing. They just play red 3 and then they attack with everything. That's going to be, they'd have to attack the base. So actually they wouldn't have been able to win because we would have been able to put Boba Fett's armor on the Boba Fett afterwards, which would have won. But if we didn't have Boba Fett's armor, they could have won. Anyways, good game. That's going to be that one. Let's move on to the second one. Into our next match against Kira Green. Now, this is a matchup where I really like Bodhi. Any Overwhelming Barrage deck, I really, really like Bodhi. This seems like a reasonable hand. I like the curve. So I'm just going to resource the events and just rely purely on the curve I got going on, which is Cartel Spacer, Bodhi, Forlom, Syndicate Lackeys. Boba Fett's armor isn't necessary for this matchup. We do have to keep in mind ECL. That can be a little bit dangerous. If they go like Hylobon Enforcer, kill my Bodhi, that can be kind of nice for them. Of course, with the shield token off Kira. They have a lot of options here. This is a matchup where Forlom does have some really nice targets, though. We'll just play a Cartel Spacer and then claim initiative. See if our opponent's got anything. We are definitely the aggressors here. They got themselves a Scout Bike Pursuer. Let's go ahead and claim initiative, and then we are just going to attack in for 2 and then play ourselves a Bodhi. Oh, that's a little bit strange. I would have expected them to... they can't put a shield token. That's a Scout Bike Pursuer. My bad. I was thinking Hylobon Enforcer. They can't put a shield token on Scout Bike Pursuer, of course. I'm going to attack in with Cartel Spacer first. Just in case they wanted to play like a 3-resource play, like a Consortium Star Viper, ECL'd, or something like that. Just get in the damage. And then we get to go Bodhi into Forlom, which is going to be quite nice. Let's see if they decide to put a shield token on Scout Bike. What do you got, opponent? What do you got going on? Consortium Star Viper would be the scary one to see, to be honest. Star Viper would be awesome in their spot. Let's see. They have a Star Viper. Okay, we're going to play a Bodhi, and we got rid of a Traitorous. Okay, so they have Childson, Embo, and Traitorous is the one we took. Okay. Here, I would have suggested that they take initiative so that they can heal up with the Star Viper. Wow, they're not even going to hit Bodhi here. That's a little bit surprising as well. We're definitely the aggressors here. So I like what has happened in this spot. Greedo is pretty nice because we can kill their Scout Bike Pursuer and then Greedo. So get quite a few additional kind of value units on the battlefield. They have Childson Embo, so they could go Childson as a 3/3. If they drew 2 blue cards, they could go as a... They go blue card. Yeah, so they can make it a 4/4. That's not really that scary. Let's attack in for 2 with the space unit because they're probably going to kill it with the Star Viper. The way this goes wrong is if they predict that I have a Forlom and they put a shield token on Scout Bike, then we could be in a little bit more trouble. But also, if we go with Forlom first, we're missing out on some damage. So that is also something to consider. But it's unlikely. Oh, they're going to go Childson. Let's see if they have multiple blue cards here. They do not. So we are going to go ahead and Forlom, kill the Childson. And then they could use their Scout Bike Pursuer to kill my Forlom. But that also kills their Scout Bike Pursuer, so that's not really that bad of a trade. And then we get down to Greedo, and we are pretty happy with this. Let's go ahead and attack their base for 3. Let's see if they hit my Forlom. They do. We're going to play a Greedo. And then now we have Syndicate Lackeys plus no good to me dead on the following turn. They get to take initiative, but this represents 3 damage. This represents 2 healing, so it's more valuable to get down Greedo. And then we are going to pass. Drawing into a Crafty Smuggler. Keep in mind that we can ready up to 3 resources this turn, so I think we can resource the Crafty Smuggler safely, because I'd rather have a no good to me dead in case something powerful comes out. Or just playing out the Boba Fett straight up, which is going to be pretty useful. We're just going to start off by attacking into their base. Let's take it a little bit to do some resourcing and figuring out their plays. They kept Embo and Childson. Childson is a 3/3, is pretty weak, I will say. I'm a little bit surprised that they decided to keep Childson. In that spot, it might have just been more worth it to keep an Embo and just play out an Embo and then put a shield token on Embo, right? Or even better yet, you play out an Embo, put a shield token on your Scout Bike, which allows you to kill the Bodhi. And yeah, we still get to kill your Embo, but at least you get to kill our Bodhi, or you could kill the Forlom, but you get to keep Scout Bike Pursuer around. Yeah, I think that would have been a little bit better for them. See what you got, opponent. Let's see what you got. Let's see what you got. Eventually. Timely Intervention. Ooh, what are they timely interventioning out? Embo. Cool. Embo's coming out. That ends up working out pretty nicely for us. Because they're probably going to kill the Bodhi, heal a couple. We get to go Syndicate Lackeys, kill your Embo. It's pretty straightforward for us. Like, we don't need to think too much about these plays. Attack in for 3. Now, if they ready up Kira, we get to go ahead and kill her with Syndicate or with Boba Fett. If they pass, do I want to... Oh, they just claimed initiative. Huh. I'm a little bit surprised on that one. Let's attack for 4, play a Boba Fett, and then pass. Ooh, Cunning was an excellent draw. Do I need to resource anything here? I don't feel like I really do. I feel like if we draw Fett's Fire Spray, we could just resource the other card that we draw next turn. Because what I could do here is, I have 5 resources, plus Boba Fett 2. So that's 7, which means I can play all 3 of these cards technically this turn. Which I would obviously like to do if I have the option to do so. Greedo has a good chance of dying as well. And besides, again, if I draw a Fett's Fire Spray next turn, I could always just resource whatever next turn anyways. Opponents try to figure out what to do. They did their little timely intervention thing. If they were going to do that, I would have expected them to have resourced the timely intervention and then just play it from the smuggle pile, because they were at 5 resources, so it would have been just better to play it from your smuggle pile. That is a Phase 3 Dark Trooper. Yeah, let's just go ahead and kill it. No need to discard a card. If they ready up Akira, we just no good to me dead it. Okay, let's go ahead and attack in for 5 with the Syndicate Lackeys. They better have something pretty good here. Otherwise, we just win. Okay, they claim initiative, so they have nothing. Well, that's not going to do it. We're going to make them discard at random, buff a unit. And then we just attack in and attack in. Not deploying Kira was a little bit strange, because that just kind of makes it so it's impossible for them to really do anything. I would have expected a Kira deploy last turn, or I would have expected them to pass instead of claiming initiative. So if I deploy Boba, they deploy Kira, deal half the damage, and then they can kill Boba Fett. If they had done a pass action, I would have just claimed initiative so I don't lose my Boba immediately, and then just see what I've drawn next turn. It would have probably worked out for us anyways, but they would have taken less damage last turn, and then this turn they could always deploy Kira as well. It's a little surprising not to see a Kira deploy. The way you kind of look at Kira is she's a way to remove enemy leaders and enemy units off the battlefield, at least how I've played her, because of her unique flip ability. But ended up just not coming out this game. And, well, we got there. So on to the next one. Into our next matchup, and we got a pretty reasonable hand. We got some turn 1, turn 2 plays. We got ourselves some 5-drops. I think here I do resource the Zuckuss and the 7th Fleet. There is a possibility I could resource the Syndicate Lackeys in preparation for me drawing like a Forlom. I could also resource the Fett's Fire Spray. You know what? That actually might just be higher upside. And I think I'm going to do that. They're going to go Spark of Rebellion. They're going to take a Bodhi. We're going to play a Crafty Smugs. And then we're going to pass. That's a Bazine. That is something I would be interested in playing this turn. Do I want to do that instead of Surprise Striking? No, I think I actually put it in the resource pile just in case I draw nothing for next turn. Wow, double Spark of Rebellion, huh? Sure. They could take the Surprise Strike. That's totally fine. Okay, they're going to take the Zuckuss. Let's just Surprise Strike in for 5. Let's pass. That is a No Good to Me Dead and a Cartel Spacer. We're going to probably play the Bazine here. This game got very weird very quickly. Let's smuggle out a Bazine. We have Takedown, Millennium Falcon. Let's just take the... Ooh, I think we actually take the Leia because she can exhaust our Boba. Hit in for 2 and then pass. There's a Fett's Fire Spray. That's going to be a pretty nice one. Let's just resource the Probe Droid. Cartel Spacer can exhaust the Kanan. That is a nice option. Here, let's just get in for 2. They discarded the Cantina Bouncer from our deck. Here, I would like to get a Syndicate Lackeys down. Yeah, let's flip Boba. And let's see what they decide to do. They're passing for a reason, but they don't have Rivals Fall. So it'd be kind of tough to deal with Boba Fett here. Again, I got rid of Leia. Do I want to ambush the Kanan? I feel like I want to not ambush the Kanan and just kill it with Boba. They played a Yoda. Okay, let's just go ahead and kill the Kanan, ready up a couple more resources, and then we get to play the Cartel Spacer. And then we pass, and ooh, Cunning was a great draw. Let's see what they decide to do here. If they try to give an experience, okay, they're going to take down here. Seems reasonable to me. So we can kill the Yoda, which I like. And if they decide to ready up a Rey, we exhaust and buff the Crafty Smuggler so we can kill Rey. Kill Rey, kill the Cartel, or hit them with the Cartel Spacer. And now, I mean, we have a pretty nice little hand here. I kind of don't want to resource anything because it's not like we can go Fett's Fire Spray plus Surprise Strike in the turn right now. See if they have like a Luke here or something big. Leia. Okay. Yeah, let's just go ahead and attack in for 2. We can Cantina Bouncer plus Surprise Strike. That might be worthwhile. Fell the Dragon. Cool. Attack in for 2. Let's Cantina Bouncer, bounce the Leia. Yes, they can replay it. But we still have the Fett's Fire Spray in hand, which is going to be pretty useful here. This way we can keep our Crafty Smuggler alive. Might have been worth it to play the Fett's Fire Spray down. They have a lot of removal. Takedowns, Fell the Dragon. They have the Sparks. Lots of Restore. Pretty interesting. There is the Luke Skywalker, huh? All right, all right. You got it. A little bit of Luke action. Attack in for 2, play a Fett's Fire Spray, attack in for 5, and then we'll pass. That's a 4-lom. 4-lom could potentially get there. See if they decide to attack in with like a Cantina, or attack and kill the Cantina Bouncer. That is a Rival's Fall, and that's not going to do it. We attack in for 6, and that's going to be the game. That was a lot of removal. That was a lot more controlling than I thought it was going to be. The double Spark Rebellion definitely stalled out our plans. Bazine coming down a little bit later and getting rid of the Leia to prevent the exhaustion. Ended up them just drawing another later on. I could have taken the takedown with the expectation that I was going to kill their unit with Boba, but I was actually thinking I was going to kill it with Syndicate lackeys. So that kind of changed the kind of algorithm that I was working with. It probably would have been better just to take the takedown instead of the Leia, but I didn't want them just immediately exhausting my my Boba when he came down. That would be a little bit unfortunate. Anyways, we ended up getting there, and it wasn't really that close. I mean, yes, they were controlling the board, but I mean, we still had plays to make, and we also still had like all of our HP. If we drew into like another Fett's Fire Spray, something, I think we could have had another really nice chance, but pretty nice one. And on to the next. Into our next matchup against Palp Yellow. Now, this is a matchup where something like Greedo is pretty mediocre, so I'm probably going to resource him. No Good to Me Dead. Also, there's not really a valid target for quite some time, so I think that one's a pretty safe resource. Keep the Surprise Strike, keep our Curve. Greedo's just bad because if they can play like a super laser attack or whatever, and then they can defeat my Greedo, and it's like really sad for us. This is like one of my favorite decks from set 1 here. Scanning Officer, that's a new one. Viper Probe Droid. I think we can safely resource that one. Resupply, let's attack for 3, and then just play ourselves a Boba Fett. And then we're going to pass. There's a Bodhi and a Bazine. I think Bazine can be resourced here. They could have like an Overwhelming Barrage, but realistically, I'm not super scared of that. They could steal my Mercenary Gunship. If they do that, I probably just steal it back. Phase 3 Dark Trooper. All right, let's attack for 3. They're going to hit our base. Let's play a... Ooh, I probably should have played Bodhi, killed their unit, Surprise Strike with a Mercenary Gunship. Ooh, that's a Traitorous that we just yoinked. That one's kind of cool. Another Sentinel. Wow, I'm a little bit surprised. Let's kill the Phase 3 Dark Trooper. Ready up additional resource. And then let's pass. Cunning is very good. Bodhi, they don't have any events in their hand anymore, or non-units in their hand anymore. They have a Darth Vader here. So, oh, they're reverting their turn. Probably resourced the wrong thing. So Darth Vader could come down next turn. That's an OB. That's going to be pretty nice for our opponent. We can go Cantina Bouncer, or we can go Cunning plus Surprise Strike. I think here I like buff a unit, return a unit. Or do I have to return discard at random? No, I like buff. Wait, why can't I? Oh, that has 4 power. Hold on. Let me think about this. Let's go Cantina Bouncer, bounce the Gamorrean Guard. Yeah, I think that's going to be a little bit more valuable here. Overwhelming Barrage. They just drew the Overwhelming Barrage. What a crazy draw from them, huh? Get in for 4, Surprise Strike in for 6, and then let's pass. No Good to Be Dead, Waylays, both pretty interesting options. I like the Waylay because it allows us to ready some additional resources. They're clearly going to play their Darth Vader, probably going to kill my Cantina Bouncer. Play a Royal Guard. All right, cool. Maybe they hit a Boba Fett. feel like hitting Boba Fett's risky because, yeah, they hit the can. I think that was the safer play. So you can go Syndicate Lackeys, but we can't play Cunning. We can go Waylay plus Cunning. If we Waylay, we're probably Waylaying the Royal Guard, and then we can Cunning to get in a ton of damage. Yeah, I like Waylay here plus Cunning. So this is going to get in a total of 11 damage. That's pretty nice. Get in for 4. Ready up a couple resources. Let's Cunning. Let's buff a unit, discard at random. Ooh, we discarded the Overwhelming Barrage. Them drawing Overwhelming Barrage on that key turn was exceptionally important, because if they had not done that, it would have been over for them, which is why I was kind of safe with going what my plan was. You can't really play around them drawing into a card on that specific turn. Usually, that's not necessarily an amazing way to play, but sometimes it happens, and you do have to kind of keep that in mind. They can't flip Palpatine and take anything yet. They have to like steal Mercenary Gunship or get rid of it. Huh. They exchange control. Choose sides. I do not think that card is particularly amazing, but that was funny. Yeah, our opponent almost came back there with that Overwhelming Barrage. If they just had a little bit more damage than to get rid of Boba Fett, then maybe they could have gone someplace. But we just kind of curved out on them and then just ended the game with classic Boba Fett nonsense. Didn't even need to get rid of the Bazine, or didn't even need to play the Bazine at any point. The Cunning was a nice draw, and Cunning's really the like hallmark of this deck, guys. When you have Cunning, the whole game is completely different, and you saw it there. On to the next. Looks like next up we're against Cad Bane Red. Now, this is a matchup where Greedo and Crafty Smuggler are relatively weak. So I could resource that one. But honestly, I think in this spot, I want to keep the units around. So I'm just going to go with turn 1, probably Probe Droid, into turn 2, Bazine Greedo. So we have Lady Proxima, Daring Raid, Black Sun. Okay, yeah. Interesting couple of options there. Not a very strong start for us by any means. Let's see if they decide to Daring Raid our Viper Probe Droid. They can Daring Raid plus Proxima. They're going to deal damage. We're just going to claim initiative here. Guild target, huh? Okay. And then Daring Raid. Oh, okay. Did I see the guild target? Or maybe I just completely missed it. That's also a possibility. Yeah. Guild target. Sure. Bazine Natal, let's see. We have a Reckless Gunslinger. We'll just take the Black Sun Starfighter. It's not an amazing play, but it is something that our opponent could potentially play. Play a Greedo. See if they drew anything. Reckless Gunslinger just dies to Bazine. We could just get in some damage, but I'm having a feeling like we're just going to be able to win the game when we get to like 5-6 resources, especially with kind of what they've got going on. Guild target, Daring Raid, Lady Proxima turn 1 really puts you behind on a ton of cards. Not really drawing that hot though. Bazine definitely going to be going into the resource pile. Probably what we're going to be playing this turn, just not exactly all that exciting. Got a couple 5-drops, so that's going to be a couple nice options here upcoming. All right, let's discard a card. Didn't hit anything. I think in that case, let's smuggle out the Bazine just to see if we can grab anything. There's a Django. Let's just take the Django. They have a Hunter of the Haxian Brood, huh? All right, let's just go ahead and get in for 1 into their base. And then we're probably going to Syndicate Lackeys next turn. I decided to destroy the other Bazine here simply because I wanted to get in the damage, but I wanted to prevent our opponent from playing anything. Okay, Bodhi could be interesting. I think we just resource this Crafty Smuggler because we can go Syndicate Lackeys into Bodhi. There is a Zuccarino. Let's go Syndicate Lackeys. Kill the Lady Proxima. See if they decide to kill the Syndicate lackeys. They do not. Let's go Boba Fett. Let's attack their base and then play a Bodhi. They have Dr. Evazan. Okay, Dr. Evazan. Ooh, now that is a draw. Those are some cards, my friend. Those are some cards. Now that is exactly what I wanted to see. They're probably going to attack my Boba Fett with the Zuckuss. I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to do so. We can go Cunning plus Cunning this turn. They're going to go ahead and give a shield token over to their Zuckuss, huh? Do I want to pump something? We can't bounce the Zuckuss. Do I just want to play out the Fett's Fire Spray? Seems a little bit weak. Let's make them... Let's buff. And then make them discard at random. Actually, let's just return the Hunter and then buff up our Boba Fett. Now they can replay it, but at least that guarantees us a secondary Cunning for this turn if we want it. They can kill off Bodhi. They're going to get in for some damage. Let's attack for 3 here. I could have attacked with Boba first and then Bodhi. Okay, yeah, I could deal 1 damage to the Bodhi. Let's attack in for 8 here. I think in this spot we actually just... Well, hold on. Yeah, we just claim initiative. They're going to hit Boba if they want. I think they're just going to go base, though. Yeah. And then we get to go exhaust, pump Boba. Yeah, exhaust, pump Boba, and that's exactly 8. Exhaust, buff, exhaust. And they have to have something pretty good here. Nope, that's going to be game. Boom. Getting in for some damage. So there are a couple of options I had there. One of the options was to, Cunning or attack with Boba, then Cunning. The problem with that is that they could have Tarkin Town my Bodhi, and then I would have gotten in some additional damage. Our hand was kind of mediocre in the earlier stages, and we still got there, but that's mainly because we drew double Cunning. Like, that's just kind of what happens when you draw double Cunning. The Relentless Pursuit was actually really good on the Zuckuss. I did not expect that, but that ended up really changing some stuff. If we didn't have like that weird where we options where we didn't play like a turn 3 play, we just played a secondary Bazine. We didn't really do anything on turn 2. We played like a Greedo plus a Bazine. Like all the Bazines were just mediocre. If we had like real cards instead of that, I think the game would have gone a lot easier. Still got there, closer than it probably needed to be though. Next matchup is against Mando Blue, and Waylay is a card I very much would like to have. We have a pretty nice little setup here. I resource one of the Bazines, and probably I could resource the Forlom with the expectation I go Crafty Smuggler plus Greedo next turn. Or I go Waylay plus Greedo. Yeah, I think I want to keep the Forlom. Let's go Crafty Smugs here. See what they have. Probably go with like L3 or something of that nature. They basically played a Crafty Smuggler of their own. They're probably going to upgrade it as well. And so I'm expecting to just expecting to just waylay it. Although if they do not, I will just play a 7th fleet, which is why I'm resourcing the Cantina Bouncers. Let's get in for 2 here, and let's see if they decide to upgrade the L3. Getting in for 2 as well, just in case they have any upgrades. Oh, okay, we'll just play a 7th fleet then. Get some damage in, or some extra board state in. Oh, they're going to remove the shield off of the Crafty Smugs, huh? Interesting. I think in this spot, then I just 4-law kill their protector of their throne. And then we could follow that up with a Greedo. If they upgrade the L3, which it looks like they are doing, they get to exhaust the 7th fleet. Okay, cool. That was from their hand. They're probably going to kill my 4-law. So they traded essentially Jetpack for 4-law. Play a Greedo. And then I will probably just trade. I mean, it depends. 4-law was really nice there. But I'm kind of curious. Oh, they're going to shield up the... Ooh, that's rough. Yeah, that is very, very rough for them. There is TIE Phantom. So I can waylay TIE Phantom. I kind of like that. Yeah, let's waylay and then TIE Phantom here. Do I want to attack first? I think I do want to attack first. Just in case they play an additional upgrade here. Just don't care about their units, really. They're going to kill my crafty smuggler. Kira, huh? That's a pretty good one. Okay, they're going to target Waylay. Sure. Makes sense. Let's go ahead and hit their base for 2. They're going to hit our base for 5, huh? Okay, let's hit their base for 3. Didn't hit anything. Let's go TIE Phantom. Let's go Boba. Let's attack their base for 4. And then let's pass. Mercenary Gunship's pretty good. They went with Waylay, but then they didn't actually kill our units with L3, which is a little bit risky, especially since they're at 16 damage on their base. Kira is definitely solid, but I mean, I think they probably just had to say TIE Phantom. Because, like, yes, I waylay, but then I don't get another unit on the battlefield, or you kill my crafty smuggler with L3. Regardless, I think they were just in a really tough spot. Yeah, that one is a little bit brutal. Fet's Fire Spray is also a reasonable name, because I can't play it the following turn. But yeah, I mean, this is just pretty brutal for them. The 4-law on the Protector of the Throne was just so good. On to the next one. Pretty quick game there. All right, into our last matchup here. Most likely. Unless it's really quick or I'm having too much fun. And we're against Boba Blue. And now this right here is the matchup for TIE Phantom. If they ever have, like, Power of the Dark Side, takedowns, TIE Phantom will live through it all. I can most likely just resource this Zuckuss and probably the Surprise Strike, because I'd rather have, guaranteed units to be played. But we're just to start off with a Viper Probe Droid, and then we're going to see what our opponent has, and then, of course, TIE Phantom could potentially be the follow-up play. We have Childson, Takedown, Entrenched, Takedown. All right, you got it, opponent. You got it. That is a lot of removal, huh? Lots of space units here, which I like. I think I could probably just resource one of these mercenary gunships. Frozen in Carbonite. Let's go mercenary gunship plus Greedo this turn. Double no good to me dead. Not exactly a strong play here. Definitely not what I was looking for. They drew the Frozen in Carbonite, which is pretty interesting. This is more of the Boba Blue deck that I was expecting, rather than the one we fought in the other video, which was a little bit while ago. But let's see what they end up having. Ooh, they have a ton. They have Search Your Feelings, Takedown, Takedown, Entrenched. Yeah, well, that's how it goes sometimes. Let's just attack in with Greedo. Let's discard a card. We had a Cartel Spacer. Not going to do it. Play a Lurking TIE Phantom and then pass. I suppose because of Waylay, maybe not attacking with the Greedo would have been the play. Relentless Pursuit is going to be pretty bad here. They have double takedown and entrenched, so they're probably looking to like entrenched my Boba is what I would expect. We can Waylay plus Syndicate Lackeys here this turn though, which would be pretty nice. Although if they don't entrench the TIE Phantom, that's going to be a tough one to deal with. Takedown. Okay. Let's just go ahead and Waylay the Childson. Entrenched. Okay, let's ready Boba, attack, and then get down a Syndicate Lackeys then. I did it this way because if they entrench the TIE Phantom, then I get in with Boba and I can play a Syndicate Lackeys. If I did it the other way where I attack with a TIE Phantom, then they could probably attack with Childson and then just hold on to the entrenched until, you know, Boba Fett can be entrenched. Another entrenched. Well, pretty nice draw from our opponent. They have a takedown as well. Yep. Let's go Viper Probe Droid. They have Snoke, Childson. All right, I mean, this is going to be a rough game for sure. Get down the 7th Fleet, and then we pass. Okay, Forlom and Fett's Fire Spray. Those are some good draws. They're going to have to do something here. Snoke, Childson. Childson doesn't do too much with Boba Fett on the battlefield. Frozen in Carbonite. If they put it on the Boba Fett, it's a little awkward, huh? I just attack with the Viper Probe Droid. Get in the damage when we can. Let's Fett's Fire Spray get in for some damage, and then let's pass. Double 7th Fleet. Okay. They're probably going to just drop a Snoke here is what my guess would be. Okay. We are going to kill Snoke. Remember, this says enemy non-leader units, so Snoke just dies. Like, yeah, that looks good, right? Realistically, they just killed a Viper Probe Droid with Snoke, and that was it. Like, that's not exactly a very strong play. I feel like we have to play something, because if they don't have Super Laser Blast, or if they have Super Laser Blast, then it's bad for us. But if they don't have Super Laser Blast and they just have one removal spell for the Fett's Fire Spray, then we wouldn't have one. So I think this is the correct play, even though it looks a little silly. Here, I think I just put the Crafty Smuggler into the resource pile. They didn't have Super Laser Blast when we looked at their hand, so they had to have drawn it. I think we just play these two out this turn. They've Evacuate, huh? Okay. Let's go with the safe play. I know I could play Fett's Fire Spray, but I'm going to go with the TIE Phantom here. And then I'm going to go with a 7th Fleet. Or I guess I'll go with the Forlom. The reason I'm doing it this way is because of them having like a single removal spell event for the cards that we have. Okay, Greedo, kind of an interesting draw. I like that one. I think I'm just going to resource the 7th Fleet Defender here. Fett's Fire Spray is also still lethal. There's a Super Laser Blast. Again, this is why I went with the TIE Phantom, because Super Laser Blast does not actually kill here. Fett's Fire Spray, is that lethal? Okay, good game. Good game. I honestly didn't really think about their Boba, but they didn't play Boba. Maybe because they were just too involved in entrenching, but playing Frozen in Carbonites and Entrenched and Evacuate in the same deck is a little bit awkward. Playing like Entrenched and Snoke in the same deck is a little bit awkward. It's just like these don't synergize with each other. I've tried playing the blue-yellow control deck, and I don't mind Entrenched and Frozen in Carbonites. But the problem with those is that your things like Power of the Dark Side, things like Avenger get a lot worse. Granted, if you find yourself up against a TIE Phantom, it's just really difficult. As you saw, they super laser blast, which is why I went with the TIE Phantom, just in case. Again, we could have potentially killed it with Fet's Fire Spray last start, assuming they had nothing. But let's assume they had like a Fell the Dragon, or, you know, like a Rival's Fall or something like that. Or heck, even another Entrenched or Frozen in Carbonite. Then, well, something like TIE Phantom doesn't actually die to Rival's Fall or those types of situations. And it also doesn't die to Super Laser Blast, which is really nice. And you saw how kind of good it was in this matchup. Of course, yellow in particular does have ways to deal with it with Frozen and Carbonite and Entrenched. Regardless, we ended up getting there. I think that the Fet's Fire Spray looks to have been lethal last turn, but it's also lethal this turn. And at this point in the game, when your opponent's like this close to death, unless they have like a Vigilance or something, it's going to be really tough for them to actually come back, because we just have played so many units and every single one of them's lethal. It's really tough. Pretty nice. That's going to be the end of the matchups today. Let's talk about final thoughts on Boba. So what do we learn about Boba Yellow, guys? Well, nothing really too much. We all knew Boba Yellow was amazing, and playing the meta decks, playing things like Sabine Green, Boba Yellow, Han Green, when you're playing these types of decks in the meta, when you're playing against a bunch of random people online who are trying to test out some fun decks or maybe trying different combinations, you're going to win a lot. And playing Boba Yellow, I won a lot. Testing around and just playing a bunch of Boba Yellow before I started this video. We played so many games. It's the same thing when I played around with Sabine Green, which is the deck I actually have in paper. You just win a lot because these are the meta decks. They're meta for a reason. They're really, really strong at punishing your opponent when they stumble. It's also really powerful at kind of just outclassing a lot of mid-range decks and even decks that are a little bit slower, because they just get in so quickly. And if you're not prepared for that type of curve and that type of archetype, then you're going to get overrun. And that's what Boba Yellow does. I will say the card that I'm surprised that more people aren't running is Forlom. Like, you don't need to run Forlom and Zuckuss. And this is something that I learned as I played Boba Yellow after the first couple of weeks of the set 2. Or, well, not necessarily like of set 2 releasing, but when it came out on Carabas and playing more games and such. Forlom is the better part of that. 4 resource 4/4s are hard to come by. Like, 4 resource plays in yellow is hard to come by. And Gamorrean Guards are what people are playing. But the ambush aspect of Forlom is a lot more appealing to me, because you can even ready up additional resources on that turn. It gives you another option of triggering Boba Fett's leader ability. So I've really liked Forlom in this list. And if you don't want to ambush, you don't need to ambush. Of course, you don't have Sentinel, but Sentinel's not as important. Generally speaking, like if you're against the aggro matchups, like Forlom ends up killing something against Sabine, which is really nice. Yes, for Gamorrean Guard soaks up potentially the Sabine attack, so it is a little bit better in those specific scenarios, but there's a lot of other scenarios where Forlom's better. Other than that, everything else is pretty standard. Cunning is just amazing. Bodhi's just amazing. We didn't really get to see Relentless Pursuit come into play, but we did get to see the TIE Phantom in that Boba Blue match, and it did perform quite nicely. We didn't get to see the Zuckuss Forlom combination. We didn't have like Forlom and Zuckuss in hand at the same time, but everything else kind of performed as expected. The No Good To Me Dead's coming in to play when we had important things to exhaust. Boba Fett's armor, well, in some matchups it's really good. In some matchups it's kind of whatever. We saw ourselves resource it quite a bit. One card that I've just been continuously impressed by is Waylay. It got even better in set 2 with all the upgrades flying around, and being able to just Waylay something is just exceptional. So do not underestimate Waylay. And Syndicate Lackeys, this card's a little bit unassuming, but it's really strong. I've run it in a lot of yellow decks, but Boba Yellow is the best home for it, because you do get to trigger the Boba Fett, ability, and then flip Boba, and then ready up an additional 2, allowing you to play those 3 drops alongside Syndicate Lackeys, which is awesome. Cunning won us so many games. Overall, Boba Yellow is as Boba Yellow does. One card that you saw a couple of times is Bazine, and as you saw in a lot of those games, you don't want to be playing Bazine on your curve realistically. You want to play it like when you're trying to do something and close out the game and you think your opponent's going to have a nice answer, like Overwhelming Barrage or Rival's Fall or those types of cards, and get rid of them. You don't want to be playing it on curve to kind of disrupt your opponent. You saw when we did that, we actually ended up in a bad spot even though they could have played their cards that they would have played, Bazine, instead of playing, well, things like a mercenary gunship or whatever, would have just gotten in more damage and end up working out a little bit better for us. That's going to be Boba Yellow, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all for the next one.